Lisa, I mean, you must see hundreds of applications to the business and interview lots of people over the last few years, in your role as general manager. Similar question really to what we asked is what advice can you give that people need to either put on their CV or when they come to interview? What would you say would make a successful candidate?
For me, it's important that the candidate is presentable. The confidence, we expect people to be nervous, so don't worry, that's totally normal for everyone to be nervous. But be able to know about the business, know a bit about the job you're applying for. So where Liz said she works in Chef and Brewer, I work in Hungry Horse, so you can know a little bit about the brand, that helps. Be on time, be punctual. And then on your CV, just say about yourself, what do you do? If you've got work experience, great, pop a bit in there. If you don't worry, because we often take people who've had no previous work experience.
I know we've got your website behind you as well there. That's a good starting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Green King is a umbrella company, I suppose,
yeah.
of a number of other brands that people may recognise.
Yeah, and then within each unit, so within our unit, obviously we've got back of house roles, we've got front of house roles, we've got wacky warehouse roles. So in each particular pub, there's different availability as well that suits different people.
How long does an apprenticeship last?
Again, apprenticeships vary. So if you were to start at an intermediate level, that can be from 12 to 18 months, so a year to a year and a half. If you were to go up to a degree level apprenticeship, that could be 5 to even 6 years long, depending on the degree apprenticeship you're going for. So you can do a variety of degree apprenticeships now, including engineering. You can do your management level as well. And I believe they're also introducing sort of paramedic degree apprenticeships as well, where you study on the job and become trained in that too.
Hi, my name is Nadira. I'm a trainee quantity surveyor at Balfour Beatty. Currently working on Telford Footbridge project. My day-to-day activities vary. I could be out on site measuring stuff like surfacing, using a wheel. I could be at my desk filling in applications for payment for subcontractors, could be in meetings. It just varies, it's different what I do.
My name's Patrick and I'm a trainee site engineer for Balfour Beatty. I really enjoy this job. And it's very rewarding. Day to day I'll be setting out, ordering materials, generally ensuring that we're building things correctly. On occasions I have had to do design briefs for temporary works. So temporary works are things that help us to build the design, the permanent works. So that's quite interesting and it carries a lot of responsibility.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm a trainee quantity surveyor for Balfour Beatty. As an apprentice on this project, I've been involved in the procurement for the project, so getting a lot of the subcontractors on board who build the job. I've been involved in a lot of, assessing the payments owed to them, that kind of thing. I've been involved in our applications to the client, so what money we're going to get paid. I've been involved in managing change, so measuring that change and advising the client on the cost of that change, and also a lot on the cost reporting of the project.
Day to day, if I'm out on site, setting out, I'll use a variety of measurement tools such as a total station. I'll use an automatic level. Total station I use to measure angles and distances. Automatic level I'll use to measure heights. I'll also use a cable avoidance tool to detect buried utilities. I use an iPad to have access to the project's information on site. I'll also review drawings on there and other specifications that we work to.
After I get my degree in quantity surveying, I'd like to move into a more managerial role and into a role where I can go and influence women to move into the industry.
At the moment, I'm in the last year of my degree, so I want to finish my degree, hopefully get a first, which is the top grade, and that will then let me focus on developing myself as a site engineer.
I'm now 3.5 years into the 5-year degree of my apprenticeship, so I'd like to just continue developing. Big goal for me is finishing my degree, and beyond that I want to sort of be commercial lead on projects and then, you know, move up the ladder from there.
I think the best thing about working at Balfour Beatty is the amount of support that you get. The people around me are really concerned with my professional development.
I came into, you know, the role completely fresh, and in my 3.5 years here, you know, the people have been great. They've never sort of shied away from assisting me and helping me develop, and that's something that I've really appreciated, and yeah, really enjoyed working with the people I've been working with.
There is a sense of pride knowing that you're working for such a large company, and just the projects that we work on, they're always landmark projects. I've just moved to Telford, but whenever I bump into people in the street, I'm always proud to say, yeah, I built that bridge.
Did you feel there was like kind of that stigma as well in some respects?
Yeah, definitely. My school is very much, you have to go to university and you have to do it normally. But I had one teacher who I spoke to about wanting to do apprenticeship, and he helped me all the way. And it's the best decision I've ever made. It allowed me to stay at home and carry on doing whatever I was doing at home. And thinking about it now, going and sitting in a university classroom for 5 years or 3 years just wouldn't have suited me at all. I'm very much a hands-on learner and enjoy going out and putting what I've learned into practice.
What would you say, what it means now to you, what construction actually means to those young people?
I'd say just go out and try it, get some experience. There's hundreds of businesses in any local area that will let you go along for a week, even if it's in the summer holidays. Go along for a week, try it out. Because I always wanted to be an architect, and I went to a small architecture practice for a week experience. And while I was there was also structural and civil engineers there, and I got to see not just what an architect's job was like, but engineers' jobs, technicians' jobs, and that kind of opened my eyes and gave me a lot more options to choose from. So yeah, just go out and get experience as much as you can, because it really does help when you try to decide what to do.
And what's been your proudest moment so far? What have you worked on that you kind of look back already and go, you know what, I was part of that?
I suppose it's quite a generic one, but probably getting my degree, because it's the only thing I've worked for 4 years solid towards getting. And it is quite a good feeling when you graduate at the end and you finish university. So
yeah.
Check it out, yeah. What y'all wanna do? Don't you know we always coming through? Me and my crew, let me hear you say fire up! Say fire up!
Fire up a career and find out what an apprentice can do for your business. Search apprenticeships.
And it must be incredibly satisfying for yourself to sort of see people like Lisa who started as an apprentice, and you must have plenty of examples in your company now of people who've done that and progressed. And I think that's something maybe that puts people off occasionally applying because they think it's a short-term solution, and they'll be, after 2 years or a year, they'll have to move out. But you, as an organisation, your culture is about moving them forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. So anybody that comes onto our apprenticeship programme, you are employed as a Green King employee. You're not employed as an apprentice. So you're on the same terms and conditions to every other person in the business. And we treat you the same. So we expect, you to take advantage of the different benefits the organisation has, but also the opportunities to progress. And as I said earlier, it may be that you only want to go so far, then you want to stop for a while, but you can carry on that progression at any time during your career with us. We really see that it's about developing their future careers with us.
From a student, we got a question in from Mr. Lowe's class. What advice would you give to students who want to get into this industry? Thank you for your question, Mr. Lowe. It's a great question, actually, isn't it? I mean, obviously you can do work experience. Is there anything that's quite close to your role that you think, if you did that as a job, as a bit of part-time job, it's actually training you for this role? Is there anything you can think of, Matt?
Well, good question. Work experience wise, you can get work experience and come to airports. You can come to Gatwick because Gatwick Airport do work experience. You can ask A&S, my company. You can ask NATS. You can go around and see places. You can, for example, if you're interested in aviation, you can go to local flying to local airfields around you, Blackbush, places like that, and they have assistants in the tower. I did that when I was 16, 17. On a Sunday afternoon, I'd go and work, and it just gets you understanding what air traffic is all about. Obviously, it's very different for private flying to commercial flying, but the principles are all the same. What we're looking for are people who have an interest in aviation. You don't have to be an Uber geek like some people I work with are. You just need to understand what the planes do and the practicalities behind it. Any sort of job that challenges you. So, for example, it may sound dark. If you're working in a bar, for example, as a summer job, you're actually doing quite a lot of multitasking. You're talking to the customer and you're dealing with, remembering their order and putting something in the till. It's that sort of understanding you need.
What was it like applying for the role of Access? So was it an online application to start off with?
Yeah, so it's quite straightforward. So there's the application, and then there was a face-to-face interview, which then went into an assessment day. There was some pre-work to do before it, just a presentation about yourself, and then a short online questionnaire as well, and then another face-to-face interview. It was really straightforward, and it was a good day actually. The assessment day, it's quite enjoyable to kind of get your personality across.
Did you get to meet other people who were potentially joining as well at the same time?
There was, yeah. So it's like a group activity as well involved in it, so you could speak to other people as
Brilliant.
well.
And obviously from start to finish, how long do you think that took then, from the initial online application through when you actually got the job in the first place?
It was only around a few weeks, really. It was quite a quick process. So from the face-to-face interview, just a few weeks after then had the assessment day. I think they told us within a day, actually, of if they got the job or not, so it was really good. And then just again, like a few weeks to start. It was very straightforward and
Jane, Balfour Beatty have been working with Leeds for a while now. So why is it that you ask companies like Balfour Beatty to make changes to road networks and infrastructure across the Leeds City region?
Because Leeds is a fast-paced and vibrant city. It's growing at an immense rate. It's going to grow by 70,000 people over the next 10 years. That's 850,000 people in this city. They all need infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals, homes, places to play and be outside. Yeah. So the need for infrastructure is constant, and it's constantly changing.
So Matt, I'd just like to sort of expand on that a little bit more, maybe for the North or UK-wide.
Yeah, so infrastructure is essential in economic growth and sustaining and improving our quality of life. If you just look at the North, and if you look at Transport for the North's ambition, and if they deliver their strategy by 2050, that will increase productivity by 4% by alleviating the congestion on the roads and improving the public transport system. Yeah. That'll generate £100 billion worth of GVA, which will create about 850,000 jobs across the North.
What were you doing? What were you doing A-levels wise, and when did you sort of start looking towards this route?
Yeah, I'd gone to college and I was doing law, sociology, and RE, or religious studies. And at that point, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, but was definitely being pushed in the direction of please apply for university. So I did. I applied for 5 universities and got all my offers back. And still at this point, didn't know really what to do. I knew I didn't want to go, but didn't know what else there was if I wanted to go into law. So just started looking on all different websites. There's stuff on Adol Shaw's website. All different law firms have it. And then suddenly I realised that I could apply for them with the qualifications that I would have from college and wouldn't need to go to university.
We've also got an online question that's come in. Ruth, this one's for you. We've got a number of people who are asking, why do you want to come into construction?
So my parents moved a lot, just for me and my siblings in terms of our education. So I was born in Ghana, then I moved to Italy, and I came here just a few years ago. My parents focused on investing what we had in our education, me and my siblings' education. So they didn't really invest on the environment we were living in. So we we lived in shared houses, we lived in very poor neighborhoods because these places were cheaper. But they didn't really looked at the fact that these areas were not satisfying our needs as a family. So I decided to go into the architecture industry to make a change in my family, to change the situation in my family.
Obviously, your journey into construction didn't start with ICE.
Yes, so when I was at school, I was a bit of an all-rounder, really, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And what I knew I wanted to do was make a difference. So I basically got inspired when I went on holiday to Barcelona, when I saw Gaudi's work, which is beautiful construction, beautiful buildings covered in mosaic. And I thought, I want to build something like that and get involved in something like that. So I went to university, to the University of Leeds, and studied architectural engineering. And then when I graduated with a master's, I went on to work at Ryder Architecture, and now I work for Arc Engineers as a project engineer.
Thank you very much. And is there anything, obviously inspired by Gaudi, is there any international structures that you've worked on that you're really happy with?
So one of the ones I worked for in my previous job at Ryder Architecture, we did a high-rise building in Hong Kong. And obviously I had to think about space because there were so many people living in Hong Kong. You then had to think about how you were going to utilise that and make lives better for people.
St Nick's Year 4 class would like to know, what is the Environment Agency doing to help?
Oh, the Environment Agency is definitely really passionate about helping to improve the environment. It's one of our tenants. We look after the wildlife, but also people. So definitely in what we do as a business, we make sure that we're reducing our single-use plastic, we reduce our carbon emissions. So we're working on reducing how much carbon we release as part of reaching the larger agreements that this country and all countries have a pledge to help meet. As well as that, on our projects, we're always looking at how we can add benefit to environment. So on my current project, we're adding an eel pass, and that's to help fishes get along through the Thames estuary. So I think that's really important, and everything we do at the Environment Agencies to help people and wildlife.
So big or small, people can help. Doesn't matter if it's picking up litter in the oceans, on the beaches, or as big as Aya's just described there of what the Environment Agency are doing.
We've got Joy, who works for Balfour Beatty's Emerging Talent team. So it'd be absolutely terrible if we didn't ask you for some top tips now for everyone watching. Okay. So what are your 3 top tips? What should they do with the CVs?
Well, the first thing is make it individual to you. Make sure that you do your homework for the company that you're applying to. So try and tailor it for that particular company. Every company wants a bit of flattery and know that you've actually done some research into them. In your opening statement, if you don't have work experience in the field, write about why you want to go into that field and why you want to be a quantity surveyor or a civil engineer. And finally, I'd say, don't just think about your education, which is very important. Think about your extracurricular activities. So you may be part of a football team or a netball team. You may do your Duke of Edinburgh Award, or you may be a leader in Brownies. And this shows team working. It shows leadership that managers all look at CVs for. Excellent. So we're just going to stay with you a minute, Joy. Okay. Now, Balfour Beatty are recruiting apprentices and graduates all the time, and we take on around about 150 every year. Yep. We've got quite a large intake. That's a lot of assessment centres, a lot of your time, to be fair, Joy. Yeah. But we've got some that are live at the moment, and we've been on the website, and we've pulled one out. We think it's quite unique, and it's an OHL, Apprentice Operative. Yes. Now, first of all, I'm going to ask, what is OHL? Because a young person looking on the website wouldn't know what that is. Okay. And then what would you expect them to do? Right. So OHL stands for overhead lines. So if you go outside and look around you, you will see overhead lines. across the UK. So an apprentice OHL operative would shadow an existing linesman, learn from them on the job, but also spend time in the classroom learning and training from that.
Well, welcome back again, and we've now been joined in the studio by two students from Bishop Young Academy. We've got Leah and Tyler, so thank you very much. Hello, welcome to both of you. Now, I've been told by your careers leaders that you're interested in careers in construction. So, Tyler, I just want to start with you and basically just ask, what do you want to do in construction and why?
Well, I want to do building estimating, as my brother has done the quantity surveyor in Manchester University, and I've seen him succeed in his studies, and I felt like it was my duty to carry on with the legacy and follow in his footsteps.
So you've got a really inspirational character in your life. That's absolutely fantastic. And Leah, the same question to you. What is it that you're interested in doing in the future in construction?
The electrician side of it in apprenticeship, because my dad does like the work from home and electricians.
Okay, 10 seconds. There you go, froze. So good afternoon and welcome in the next edition of Chat with Caroline. As usual, please use the chat facility on screen to leave any questions. Thanks for those who've already sent in the questions, and we'll read them out during the course of this discussion. I'm now going to hand over to Caroline, who's going to tell you about this week's theme. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and hi everybody. Thanks ever so much for joining us for this chat with Caroline today. As always, please obviously engage in the session and let us know what your questions are, and as always you can continue to ask questions after the chat as well. So I'm delighted today to have different guests with us who I will just ask to introduce themselves, starting with Russell, who's been with us before.
Good afternoon, I'm Russell Patton, I'm the Executive Director of Operations.
Afternoon, I'm Pauline Cullen, I'm the Care Group Manager for Pennine.
I'm Anthony Kenyon, I'm a patient.
Good afternoon, I'm Scott Smith, I'm the Lead Nurse for Pennine Community Mental Health.
Okay, brilliant. So it's great to have you all here today. And the reason the team are with me today is in a moment we're going to talk about the clinical pathway work that's going on in the Pennine area, which is really exciting. But just start as always with an update around things that have been going on across the Trust. So firstly, just to update people about the CQC. So as you remember last time, I said the CQC had been back and had a look at our places of safety and broadly had very positive feedback around the excellent improvement work that's been going on. So again, a very big thank you to everybody. They're about to come back at any time now to have a look at our adult inpatient wards. So just a reminder for people to just keep relaxed, talk about the really good improvement work that you've been engaged in, and thank you very much, as always, for all that work. Next thing just to update you about is the locality redesign. So you'll remember that I've been talking about this continually for the last few months. So last week at the board, we approved the locality model in terms of now we are going to have 4 geographical models. So one will be the Bay and South Cumbria. A second will be in the locality of Blackpool and Fylde. The third one will be Pennine Lancs, and the fourth will be Central Lancs and West Lancs. And then the fifth network will be our specialist services. Now we also approved. We had a number of options with one recommendation which we approved, which is how we're going to organise our services within each of those localities. And broadly, we're going to have clusters of teams focusing on access and urgent care, clusters of teams focusing on our wards, and then clusters of teams that will be in the clinical pathways, so adult mental health, older people's mental health, children's mental health, and then physical health community services where we have those community services. So more work is also now going on with care group managers, with service managers, to start to co-produce. So what exactly, which services will go into each of those clusters. So please get engaged. There's a series of workshops that are going on at the moment. I know, Russell, you've been involved in those. Are they going on this week?
Yes, there's a number of events being held over this week and next week, and Lisa Morehouse will be leading those events. The information regarding them has been circulated widely, so I'd be very surprised if people don't know about them.
Okay, brill. So thanks ever so much for all of your engagement so far. In terms of performance, there's much to be proud of. I know it's challenging for people. I know the pace and scale of change is enormous. But it was a great opportunity just in the last week to be able to reflect on the significant improvement, particularly in adult mental health services, at the board, in the system improvement board, and on the national calls we've had this week. So really well done to people who've been engaged in that. Still more improvement for us to focus on, but a lot of progress. So please keep going, folks. From a system perspective, there's again a lot of change that is now going to be happening. So there's a consultation at the moment around the 8 CCGs that we have, the clinical commissioning groups merging into one clinical commissioning group at an integrated care system level for Lancashire and South Cumbria, and then the integrated care partnerships to take some of that, quite a significant amount of that commissioning function, into very local integrated working, and we'll be a key part of that going forward. Another really fantastic news story, and really we are very, very proud, and thank you all, because I know that this has been a significant target to achieve, but 80% of our staff having now a flu vaccination is really, really positive. It's a significant improvement on next year, and we believe that next year, on last year, sorry, and next year we believe it's going to be even higher, the target. But well done to staff, really, really important. And then 3 awards that we've had in the last couple of weeks. Firstly, the Health Visiting Service in Blackburn with Darwin have been awarded the Gold Standard Baby Friendly Award by UNICEF and the World Health Organization. So really, really well done to you guys. Secondly, we've been down through positive practice to the National Mental Health Collaborative and the Rapid Intervention, our older people's Rapid Intervention teams have been recognised for their fantastic work that they've been doing. And then lastly, and certainly not least, is a significant amount of work that's been celebrated through National Apprenticeship Week that happened recently. And we've got 244 apprentices across the trust, and the team, some of the team were invited down to the House of Commons for the celebration of the excellent work that's been going on. So really, really well done to everybody. Now, more of the improvement work that we're engaged in, that we're going to hear a little bit more about now, is the work that we're focusing in the Pennine Lancs area. I'll ask Russell, who's the executive lead for this, to start us off and talk to us about what's it all about.
Okay. Well, most of you will be aware that we have a strategic partnership with CNTW. That's a mental health and disabilities organisation based in the northeast of England. We've been working with them for some considerable time now, and the latest phase of their improvement work that we're working in partnership with is on pathway redesign in Pennine Lancs in the first instance. So what this will involve will be discrete pieces of work with our practitioners, our partners, our service users and carers, to design what we believe to be optimum pathways to meet the needs of our service users and carers. So some of the areas that we've been looking at in the first instance have been psychosis, non-psychosis and cognitive pathways. We've started in Pennine Lancs, and that was agreed with our ICS partners, and that will be rolled out pretty quickly to the neighbouring ICPs. So very, very early stages, but it's a key development in terms of our improvement journey. And obviously Pauline, who's been closer to the change process, can give us more detail.
Okay, Pauline. So can you just tell us a little bit about the detail? So there've been various workshops that have been going on.
Yes, certainly.
Really
so there's
looking
been
at the whole pathway.
there's been 5 workshops in total, starting off with our access. So what we absolutely recognised was that there was multiple access points for our service users and stakeholders. So we've looked at redesigning the whole pathway for access. Then that led on to assessment and looking at what would our assessment look like for service users that are coming through to ensure that that service user only tells the story once and that there's trusted assessments throughout, which then leads on to the community offer, so looking at non-psychosis and psychosis pathways, and we looked at nice guidance, good practice to look at what would be our blue sky thinking for our services going forward. And then finally was our cognitive and frailty pathway. Those workshops have been run throughout January, 3 days a week, so it's been really intense. We've had fantastic sign up from our stakeholders, Blackburn with Darwin Council, the police, service users and carers, which has been absolutely fantastic.
And commissioners, I think, have been very supportive as well.
Yeah. So the commissioners have been at every single one and really been supportive with the change. It's been absolutely fabulous to start thinking about what do we want to deliver, and the staff that have been involved in those workshops have really felt that they're being heard and given them some hope that things are going to change for the better for delivering services that are a gold standard.
Okay. So should we just come to you, Anthony? And what's it felt like? It's brilliant to have had you as a user of services.
Yeah, and I
really
think the staff and the professionals have always engaged with me. They've listened to me. They haven't, any idea was a good idea, you know. They're understanding. I just think the passion the staff have, they want to change things, want to make things better for service users and patients, better for carers, and the involvement with everything. It was very, very good, very good.
And have you helped to really think through from a user point of view?
Absolutely,
what difference would it make if we got these pathways in the right place?
Well, hopefully if we get it right at the beginning, it's better outcome at the end. And you might have to keep going in services, in and out of services, get it right at the beginning, get the right support, get the right care, get everything right at the beginning. Again, like I say, you might not have to go in. I've been in services for a long, might not need an inpatient stay, might need community help, and might be able to get back into the normal daily living and things and deal with mental health better than being long stays and in and out of services where things are not always good, and just getting community services right really for them.
So particularly, what could we be doing more to support you staying at home, keeping well?
Well, I think the ideas have come up with so I think one of the ideas was about having the community health team working longer, not just 9 to 5. And I think also people so for me, depots, if I was working full time, I might not be able to get my depot injection during the day. So if I had people working at 8 o'clock or for instance, or whatever time, that helps me carry on my daily living, but also helps keep me well with the depot. So there's good ideas with that and health checks, because when people are unwell, when on some psychotropic medications, they can have a big impact on your physical health. A lot of people wanted to keep an eye on physical health. I think that was good to really wanting to get the physical health right as well as just mental health, because a lot of time in services, in mental health services, it's always about mental health. I've seen a lot of time. In general side, it's all about general. We need that integrated working for both things. And like, they want to keep both hospital, so they want to have the right support, and not too much support, but not too little, and needs led and best for that service user or patient.
That's absolutely fabulous. And I guess, Scott, coming to you as the lead nurse, a lot of these new ideas will might take a change in practice for people, change in working hours for people. So what sort of engagement has happened with clinicians and with staff?
So over the 5 workshops that we've had over the past 7 to 8 weeks, it's been really, really good for me as the lead nurse to have staff involvement right from ward level, right from community team level, right up to sort of lead nurse level, care group manager level. And what's been really positive is that everybody's really got involved. Everybody's really been able to put their points across, and everyone's been really creative in how they're thinking about developing these new pathways. And what's really important to me is that these pathways that are being delivered and being created have been delivered by staff, and that they're being clinically led, and this is what staff want. Yes. And what's really good, and what we heard at board last week, is that these new clinical pathways are being supported by the board, yes. which is really important to us as frontline staff to know that we're being listened to. Yeah. And moving forward, we know that over the past couple of weeks we've had further operational planning events, and we are involving staff. We've got future planned engagement events with all our staff, making sure that people's voices are heard, that people are constantly involved in the development of these new clinical pathways, yeah. which again is really important.
Yeah, and I know I've been along to some of the workshops, I know Russell has, and certainly there's been a list of things to ask us about, so yes. clearly we're getting a strong voice around what people expect and want for the future.
Absolutely, and I just feel really privileged to be part of that whole process.
That's fab, and it was so great to have you to the board last week, and the positivity was just fabulous. Russell, did you want to?
Yeah, I think it's really important that the genie's out of the bottle now, that we've talked about staff engagement and staff involvement in designing things, and I think that's clearly the direction that we as a senior leadership team want to instill, going forward. We'll never be in a position now where we can say to staff, thank you very much for your involvement, but then no longer come back to you to say, help us develop things for the future. It's out there, it's how we're going to do things, and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely.
So have we got any timescales on when this might start to be implemented? Because obviously we're starting with one area at the moment, one locality. There's a plan to roll this out across other localities. Are we going to wait till we develop those models and then we'll implement? What's the ideas?
So we had a workshop yesterday, and Louise Giles, with all our stakeholders and clinicians, met to look at what are our quick wins. So we talked about laptops being delivered. So we know that laptops will be being delivered to all our community services in April.
Fabulous.
We also looked at digital dictation that is going to be rolled out to our START teams and our mental health liaison teams in the interim by May. So we were able to design a plan of what are our early wins. We know that our access point is probably, as we all agreed, that is our one that we really want to move forward with very quickly. And we looked at that being having an interim plan, so that could we get started within the next 3 months to be starting to look at getting more admin staff in, maybe looking at more practitioners to try and get that work started. But then there's a long-term plan. So the long-term plan was being made up from Louise Giles's team that's going to be coming through to Ursula, Martin and yourselves for consideration.
Okay.
So
there are things we can get started with,
definitely.
And then there'll be and things like, I know that when I went along, that making sure that we've got the right digital equipment out
That's
there
right.
was a really big enabler. So that's great to hear that that's now in place, and digital dictation will be part of it. And then we've got to redesign that whole front door access.
Yeah, and I know that our estate colleagues are looking at the data about referrals to look at where would the buildings best be placed for service need.
Okay.
So that work is going on in the background.
Fabulous. So really thinking broadly. Great. Have we got any questions that have come through?
I had a couple in, Caroline, if I may talk you through those. And while you're answering, anybody who's looking, if you could look into this camera for me here as well, perfect.
The right camera's very important.
It's all very important, absolutely. So this is quite a long one, so bear with me. This is from Elaine, and it's aimed at you, Caroline. She says, I work for Pennine RIT, RITT, which, as you may be aware, is an award-winning team. I think you mentioned that earlier. Only this week mentioned the Positive Practice Mental Health Collaborative Report. I took part in the recent workshops. The one thing that wasn't clear to me from the workshops was where those who were functionally frail, for want of a better term, sit. This wasn't ironed out. For me, having worked in both the adult and older adult crisis home treatment teams, I strongly believe that the functionally frail should sit within a separate crisis/home treatment team specialising in functional, frail and dementia caseload. From my perspective, the FF, I'm not sure what that means, but FF do not sit well with
frail.
functionally frail. I think, yeah, thank you. Do not sit well with the general adult patient group as their needs are very different and actually more similar to dementia patients. I'd like to know your view on this. Thanks very much.
Okay. So I guess my view needs to reflect what the majority clinical view is. And I know that we'd had a lot of discussion and debate as we were developing the new structure to make sure that we kept those pathways glued and connected in. And for example, the older adult pathway, we didn't want to start disaggregating something that was already working. But I'll go along to maybe yourself, Scott, or Pauline.
I can take this, that's fine.
Great.
I guess from the RIT perspective, as Caroline said earlier, you know, they're an award-winning team, and I guess working through the workshops, it was widely recognised that, you know, this is a really highly functioning team, and why break a team that's working really well? And if we look at what we can take from a team like the RIT team and maybe replicate how well they're working in some of our other teams, I think that'd be a really good positive journey to take forward, especially from my point of view in terms of our locality. So going back to the locality redesign and how things are going to look in the future, I guess it's about sort of looking at the RIT team, looking at the older adult pathway, and ensuring that pathway is seamless for our patients accessing the service. And it has to be, for me, from a clinician and from a lead nurse, it has to be absolutely service user need based on what their needs are. So if somebody needs a function like the RIT team, then yeah, let's go for that, and let's continue with the way we're working. And if we need expertise from other teams, then that's something that we can also look at and link in better with our other services.
Okay, thank you very much, and really, really well done, by the way, for being recognised and award-winning. Well done.
Thanks for your question, Elaine, as well. This one's a little shorter. This is from Gail. It's fantastic to see frontline staff attending workshops. How do you intend to continue to keep frontline staff included in the transformation plans moving forward in order to keep staff engaged in the process?
So thank you, Gail. Really, really important. And as Russell said, the genie's out of the bottle. But I'll go to Pauline just in terms of, so how are we going to ensure, particularly with the Pennine work, that this isn't just a one-off?
So I think we've done the workshops, and our commitment to the staff and to our stakeholders is that everybody will be involved in developing those pathways and developing that service. There's been some engagement sessions out to 3 of our community teams, so Balladon, Daisyfield and the Mount, looking at what we've done to try and get further engagement from our staff, because not all our staff could go to the workshops. Okay. So we've got feedback coming through those channels as well, and we're absolutely committed to not only work with our staff but work with our service users, carers and stakeholders, the police, council and our GP colleagues, to make this work.
Okay, brilliant. So really strong commitment from all of us, from the board to clinical team level, to continue to really co-produce and engage folks. We've got one more question,
and it's again from Gail. Staff attended the transformation feedback drop-in sessions. It was concerning regarding the data analysis, as this did not give a true reflection of the amount of referrals and contacts within the RIT team as a whole. When staff asked a question and asked for explanations regarding the data figures, they were told not to worry too much, as they were aware the data was not relevant. I don't know if that's a question or a statement.
Okay, so clearly an issue there around the data, and I don't know if anybody is aware of that as an issue. So thank you, Gail, for raising it. Something that we will take away and make sure that we put a response. It is important that we have accurate data, as accurate, and of course our data can only be as accurate as the people inputting it on the front line. But it's important that we use data and triangulate that with clinical opinion as we start to redesign services. But we will put up an answer to that. And thank you very much, Gail, for raising it. Okay, so that comes to the end of our chat with Caroline this week. Our next one is on the 12th of March, and that's all about our digital plans. So please do join us. That'll be great. And thank you very much.